My name is Janus Rostock. I'm head of design planning and economics, as well as concept architecture for Aecom in the Middle East. I joined about a month ago, so it's still quite recent. And my background is that I've been with Atkins for the last 12 years prior to that, both in Middle East and in Europe. And my latest role in Atkins was head of master planning, urban design and architecture in the Middle East.
I'm Steve Velegrinis. I am the head of master planning at Aecom in the Middle East, and I'm also the director of operations for design planning and economics. And before that, I was an associate principal with Perkins & Will, managing what they call cities and sites. Really working at the intersection of things like landscape architecture and urban design. I've spent the last decade or so mainly working in architecture practices that also do urban design, and the interesting sort of opportunity was that there was a strategic change for Aecom that they wanted to grow, and they are the opposite of what I have been doing. They've got a core business of master planning, urban design, landscape architecture, and they were wanting to grow that offering. And that was really attractive to me at the time, because a lot of the time when you work in an architecture firm that does other things, you always struggle to sort of really get the kind of diversity that you want, and that is what a company of 100,000 people really offers. You know, in our group we have environmental planners, we have urban planners, landscape architects, urban designers, architects. It's really a genuinely multidisciplinary group, and the story is one of quite ambitious growth. There's a lot of people in the industry, especially last year, who were not thinking about growth. They were thinking about, it's going to be a bad year. So there is a real optimism that Aecom is approaching this coming year or two with. And being approached at the same time, realising that there's this serious commitment to a real growth story has been quite exciting. A lot of people think of Aecom as this enormous organisation, but actually we're joining a studio of about 85 people. What we're supported with is a whole ecosystem around us, which is the exciting part. It's sort of all of the things that you wish you had the support of in the past, in my case.
I sometimes compare what we do to being a race car driver, really. So if you're used to working in big organizations and delivering very large scale projects, coming to an organization that basically allows you to drive as fast as you can, with all of the security that you have around being in this big organization, and you being able to juggle all of these people is incredibly rewarding. And I think it's important to remember that where the studio in master planning in my previous business was around 35, this is now a studio of 85. So we are much larger, and therefore can take on more projects and have a built portfolio of projects which is second to none.
In the roles that I've had in the past, I've been somewhat limited by, we could do the front end of projects, but the delivery was a bigger challenge. Delivering big projects, when you're talking about master planning projects, it requires a lot of horsepower. The sort of race car needs to be very powerful. And so the exciting thing was doing the things that I have been doing, which was really looking at the conceptual master planning of large developments. But we would often do that to the point of a concept, and then it would go to someone else. What's exciting about it is actually doing that same work and then doing the rest of it, because especially in master planning you don't get to realise a lot. I think for me one of the most exciting moments I had was having worked on the Dubai Design District master plan and seeing the first phase of it. Actually that's one of the first master planning projects over 20 years that I've actually been able to see the realisation. And that's something that comes particularly with a company like Aecom, that their sweet spot is essentially taking that great idea, the initial master plan, through to conception and realisation. Our joining is part of a broader strategy of elevating Aecom in the Middle East. and it is, as Janus was saying, there's some fantastic work out there that we haven't talked enough about, and we're doing fantastic work at the moment. I think perhaps Janus and I were very good at talking about the things that we were doing before we joined, and that was something that Aecom spoke to us about. That they were saying, we want you to come on board to actually sell the thought leadership, to make our story sort of more public. And I think that's something really difficult with a large firm. That there's lots of stories embedded in there, and it's how you tease those out.
Some of the very high-profile projects that are being spoken about in the market is something that we are involved in different forms. So cannot talk about specifics right now, but some of the really big projects we are involved in. We're doing some amazing work right now with Saudi Rail, which is really exciting in terms of, and this is where I'm seeing that the digital innovation within Aecom is out there in terms of really good work in GIS, where we have looked at more than 700 sites for Saudi Rail and looked at how those sites could be assessed and looked at in terms of how we could create opportunities for them to build. So we've gone from 700 to 35 to 7 within 6 months, and all of these are backed up by data. So quite amazing in terms of some of the digital innovation that we're seeing within the business. And for me, it's having been involved in the design of the Dubai Opera District, the first sketches of the master plan through the building. I'm now seeing this work coming back to Aecom in terms of Aecom being involved in the landscape detail design. So in that sense, this is a small place, and therefore there's work that we have been involved in our previous lives that are now sitting with Aecom, which is a great thing, really, in terms of following the projects through.
Yeah, I mean, I've had the same experience. 3 of the projects that I worked on in the last year are now with Aecom for sort of detailed master planning and realisation. So it's coming full circle.